So let us begin as we breathe into this now moment, letting go of everything that came before, releasing our energy from all our technology, releasing all the things that we are believing we need to do in the future, for there is only this moment. And in this moment, we have the divine power of will to choose, the power of choice, and how we will fill our conscious minds, our hearts. We get to choose what we will energize in body, mind, and in spirit. And so let us choose openness. Let us choose compassion, love, power, zeal, life, faith. Release, letting go, so that we are fully in this delicious moment, knowing it is our consciousness, as Reverend Paul Hasselbeck says, it's a beautiful day in my consciousness. And it reminds me, regardless of what is going on in the physical, I always have the power to choose. Well, I will engage in this house, in this consciousness. And so it is. Amen. So we are going to start in just a moment. There's going to be a little minute video clip. And I just want to share that we have been doing a series on Discover Your Divinity, a modern guide to affirmative prayer, written by Reverend Linda Martella-Whitsitt, which we all had the joy and privilege of experiencing a couple weeks ago, and her co-author, Deanne Morrissey. So there are 2 more weeks in the series. There's so much more in that book, and I invite you, if you haven't purchased it, to do it. If you want to become more, one of our powers is dominion, or our power of mastery, our power of power. And it is one of the aspects of that is about practice. And when we do it with zeal and devotion, we become masters, not just at playing the piano, but in utilizing affirmative prayer in ways that are powerful and meaningful to us. So we have this, today's service will be on the 5 movements, getting in the flow of the 5 movements of affirmative prayer, and then we will have one more. And I have an idea of cooking. Laura Dubois is going to be visiting with us in a couple weeks, and I think I have something musical and artistic where we can experience the 5 movements of prayer. Anyway, it's percolating. It's like this morning I was like, oh, okay, that's a good idea, maybe. So just bringing that in. So without further ado, I share this video, and we'll talk on the other side. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Isn't it amazing? And I thank Matt for adding, I found that video and I asked Matt to add some music to it. So as you watched that video, what did you experience? You can place it in the chat or you can raise your hand here. Just take a moment. What did you experience as you watched that? Paula, can you?
I felt like I was coming alive with every movement.
Mm.
Something was awakening within. And kind of it was an awakening.
An awakening, an inner awakening. Yeah, like you sensed it within your own being.
Right.
Yeah,
I did. Thank you.
beautiful. Is there anything in the chat, Matt?
Yeah, Lily said divine order.
Divine order, right? There is an order to things, right?
I felt just pure joy, and it wasn't thinking joy. It was feeling joy. I felt it in my body.
Yeah.
You know, I felt my heart rate quicken a little bit, to be honest, you know, and it was just absolutely like joy and gratitude and life and just spirit.
Yeah. You know, it's like when we know, like, we can intellectually say we're one, but when we have that palpable feeling, awakening, joy, watching that, right? It's like we are one with that, right? Thank you. Somebody else have their hand up?
Yeah, I felt a lifting up and a revealing of everything that I have to offer.
Yeah, beautiful. Lifting up, revealing. Kirsten, anything else in the chat? We'll get it after Kirsten.
Miracle.
Miracle.
It's a new day.
It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. And I'm feeling good. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Well, I'll think of the original singer. Go ahead.
Is that the beauty of it, because I think all design and all things come from nature, and that it's just so divinely designed. But then as the video progressed, the shots were of the larger leaves, which were the base of the strength of the plant, because the tips haven't curled yet. So we are grounded in strength from our base.
At the core, yeah. The roots, the very roots of our being. Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Anything else in the chat? Okay, so, Lindy, well, I'll wait till I go back to Lindy, the comment of order. So what could this be? I think you mentioned them already, a metaphor for awakening, right? A metaphor for the experience of the just pure joy of our being. But what else could it be a metaphor for you in your life personally?
Definitely
Rebirth. Growth.
Things just unfold the way they're meant to be. It's divine order.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to come back to that because so things unfold as it's meant to be, it's divine order. So would it be okay if I just bring that into alignment with how Unity may present that? Okay, so, which goes back to Lindy. Nature innately is encoded with the order, right? The plant doesn't do this before it is put in the ground, right? So order also in our lives is how are we ordering our lives? It's not just like stuff happens, right? It's just meant to be. Like some things, right? We live in a world of impermanence and we are powerless of whatever people may do. But in our lives, order, divine order, we are divinely ordering by placing our thoughts and emotions, right? We have an idea, so we glean an idea about something, and then we can energize that idea with possibility, with being the embodiment of life, the imagination, or we can energize it with fear, right? So there's an order. There is the idea that we are holding in consciousness, energized by our feelings and beliefs, will produce the demonstration of what we are experiencing and what is out picturing. So it's not like just like this, right? You know, I have shared with you, many of you have known, you know, from a long time ago, like when I was first, you know, serving on hospitality, I, you know, wasn't thinking of being a minister or a licensed unity teacher, and I couldn't hold a microphone because I was petrified of being in front of people. I mean, my hand would shake so violently. And then when Reverend Linda was here, I shared that when I had taken the position, I had so many sleepless Saturday nights because fear was so present in me, and I knew the truth, right? And so I would embody, right? I would embody and speak the truth, and then I still had fear surface. But what would have happened if I allowed that fear to stop me from showing up on Sunday? How would that divinely ordered my life differently than today, right? I believe it. I'm not here to have a fight with my fear, right? It's like, okay, there it is. How do I want to divinely order my life? Do I want to run? Yeah, sometimes the answer was yes. But slowly, that frond, you know, as I looked and see, you know, which we'll get into the prayer flow, you know, looked and see what were those fears, what were those beliefs. You know, there was some trauma about being in public forums because some things had happened around my safety. So it wasn't just a confidence or not worthy thing. It was also about this thing that was triggered about not being safe in front, okay? So as I allowed that to heal and as I would engage in prayer, I embodied it. I said, no, this is mine to do. I'm following my wisdom on my cane here. And the beauty of the frond doesn't mean I don't ever have fear surface, but now I can be in the joy of what I do, right? That was divinely ordering. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so that's what I just wanted to share. There is, you know, spiritual truth and principle. There is actually an order to it. Okay, is there anything in the chat? Matt, no? Okay. All right, so what I want to do is this. And I'm divinely ordering my slides. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we are going to move into, I've mentioned them before. Those of you who were at the workshop, those of you who are reading Linda and Deanne's book know about the 5 movements of prayer. And I briefly said, you know, I open, God is, I am, I know, I have, I can, and then I appreciate. But I'm going to go into those in more detail today. But before we do, I just want to do a quick review of what affirmative prayer is. And then what are the preparation stages before we actually enter the movements of affirmative prayer. So, affirmative prayer, the purpose of that is for us to open, right? Open to a state of awareness where we move from separation, consciousness, to a consciousness of oneness. It is for the purpose is for us to shift from being victim, and you know, we talked about the different levels of consciousness, and to move into naming, because of oneness, naming and claiming our I am, and what am I being called to embody. It's about the opening of awareness. You know, very often people do use affirmative prayer to express their joy, their gratitude for the experience of the experience and expression of joy, of life, of their blessings, in their lives, right? So we use that to amplify it, and name it, claim it, and amplify it. But I would say a majority of people turn to affirmative prayer when there are challenges or conditions in their lives are stressful, painful, such as, having discord or conflict, with your partner, with your neighbor, with your family members, with a coworker, or receiving a diagnosis of a disease or illness, or having the experience of your body changing, or any change in life, moving, deciding to retire, making a choice to start a new career. All of those can fill us sometimes with some angst or fear or worry, and can fill us with, we experience doubt. And so when we are in fear, worry, doubt, and life can be so loud, the condition we are experiencing is so loud in our consciousness and in our emotions, that is like that fron, that you use in that, we would say in that contracted state, right? Because we can't see but that in this moment. We may know that other things exist, but it's like so pressing and loud in our consciousness. And so it is about moving. Prayer is for us to move and shift consciousness so that the condition is not the total focus of what is up. And so that's what affirmative prayer is, for us to shift our awareness and consciousness. So now we're going to move into the two the identify stage, which before we enter the movements, is that we have to identify two things. Number one, what is my prayer concern, right? What am I coming to prayer for? And here, you may have done journaling before, done, some acupuncture, whatever healing, running, moving. But here with affirmative prayer, you name the facts, like of the circumstance. And you name your feelings and name your thoughts about it. You don't have to write a whole paragraph or whatever, but get it out. It's not using affirmative prayer. Yes, we are naming and claiming spiritual truth, but it is not about a spiritual bypass. We do not spiritual bypass our humanness. We look at it. That is what the condition statement is all about. So here in this example is, I have been laid off from work. At my age, I am fearful. I will not be able to be hired, and I won't be able to support my family. Right? That is what is up for this individual. And so we identify next the purpose. And always the purpose is about a shifting consciousness. And in affirmative prayer, it's very specific. The divinely ordering is very specific. We name what would be the spiritual antidote to this that I'm being called to open to. And we talked about naming an aspect of the divine, of God, the one prime principle of oneness. And Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, co-founders of Unity, invite us to naming one of the 12, many different, from the allness and fullness of all that God is, to name and claim, starting with one aspect of the divine. And that is our 12 powers. So what might be the antidote here? What of the 12 powers could be the antidote? Now, all the powers are always alive and at work, so you can't go wrong. But what might be the most pressing in the moment? Now, I underline the word fearful. When fear comes up for me, I think of faith, right? Because fear is doubt, lacking the belief that I have worth, here, because they're focused on their age, right? But it also can be maybe strength to endure, the job search. This individual was in a job for like maybe 25, 30 years. And the whole way you go about even an interview is so different. You don't go in person, meet people where they get to experience you. You're just like, I shouldn't say it, but like you submit everything online. Wouldn't that require a lot of determination and courage, strength to call up, to activate? It could also be the power of imagination. Maybe I want to go in business for myself, and I'm going to grasp a divine idea. What am I being called to do as an entrepreneur, maybe? And get that vision. So it could be imagination. But for this purpose, we're going to use faith. So this is where you go to, they're in the book. I've handed them out as well, where you go to your 12 powers and you say, let me pick one. And again, for the purposes here this morning, I picked faith because of fear, right? The antidote could be conviction, belief, expectations, assurance. And you will see how that moves along in this prayer flow. So now we move into the first step of the 5 movements of affirmative prayer. And so I'll just name them first. So it's to open to new possibility. I recognize God is. I integrate I am. I realize I can, I have, I know, and I appreciate. So I open to new possibility. That is a direct declaration of willingness to see more than what is looming large in my consciousness, the concern that keeps rattling, the fear that keeps rattling. I am willing to see more than this contracted state of belief that I am in. I am willing to shift. Now, when we see new possibility, sometimes we think of the thing we want. I want the job where I only work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I only have to work from 1 to 12. I get 10 weeks vacation, and I get paid, $5 million a year. That's all wonderful. I'm not saying not to have that in your heart. But the purpose of opening to new possibility is opening to the possibility of me being the truth that I desire here. And then when I can energize that in consciousness, then who knows what I'm going to be attracting myself to. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 2, verse 22, it says that Jesus used metaphor to teach. Not only was he a great healer and mystic, but he was a phenomenal teacher of consciousness. And so in this teaching, he says, do not put new wine in old wineskins, otherwise the wine will crack and break open the old wineskin. You must put new wine in new wineskin. Okay, have you ever heard of someone winning a ton of money in the lottery? Paul, have you? Yes. Who was the winner in Oregon? Okay, so have you ever heard the story of people winning a boatload of money and like 5 years later, like they're broke? And what I'm saying is we may get a physical demonstration of something, but that analogy of the wine is the shift in consciousness, right? Is the wineskins, right? The new wineskins, a shift in consciousness. If I am still having in the basement of my consciousness, poverty consciousness, fears, or, I better spend it now before I'm dead, or whatever, or other things, addictions going on. Like if I haven't cleaned that up in consciousness, it won't withstand. And then you're back to experiencing the same relationship, the same pattern, so on and so on. So the purpose of affirmative prayer is all about shift in consciousness. Once you are embodying that, you are just a magnet. Who knows where your goods, you can withstand it. You are led to your good. You're led to use your wisdom in ways that or profound. Does everybody get that? All right, so a statement here would be, of this opening statement is, with each inhalation and exhalation, I relax my body. As my breath grows deep and slow, I open my mind and heart to the awakening of spiritual truth. It doesn't say, I open my mind and heart to the 9, the 12 to 1, whatever, the 9 to 12 job, with X amount of salary. That's not what it says, right? Okay. Now, a negation, who can tell me what the negation is? Everybody remember from that Sunday, and if you were here for the prayer workshop? The old word was denial in unity teachings. So negation is what? Okay, so a negation or denial is, we can say, I'm open and willing, and the monkey mind's like, no, you're not, you're gonna lose your house, da-da-da-da. You can say all this language and still have, no, you're not, no, you're not. Okay, so you just be present with it. And so a negation is like, you recognize it and you try to dissolve its power. You're not trying to stamp it out, but you're saying to it, I see you, and I see you and I notice you, but I know there's truth greater than that. So here it may be, my age is powerless over my worth and my good, right? Because doesn't society said, if you're a certain age, you can't get hired, you can't get an acting job, whatever, so on and so on. So you might put that before, my age is powerless over my worth and my good. Or at the end, with each inhalation and exhalation, I relax my body. Once I know that, And now we go to the second movement. I recognize God is. Here we're asking to shift from the all-encompassing condition and to bring our awareness to what God is and to name it specifically, the allness of God, right? What's one principle of God, one color shade of light of God are we going to focus on? And which one did I choose for this example? Faith, right? I recognize that God, the one power and presence, is the creator, source, and cause of all life. I know that from the one source emanates the perfect principle of faith. God is the absolute power of faith. Now, I wrote these, but there's tons of examples in the book, and you may not use my language, but do you see the opening? There was the opening, and now we're claiming and naming God. God is all there is. That's it. It's the one source and one power. And from that allness and fullness of brilliance, intelligence, and beauty, I am knowing that God is the perfect pattern and knowing of absolute faith, and I am naming God as the principle of faith. So here could be a negation, right? What if you still have those old beliefs that somehow like this, you lost your job because you're being punished for not, for something in your life. So a negation could be, I'm willing to let go of the belief that God has willed me to lose my job, right? Okay, then we move into I integrate I am. Now, this is where we allow all sense of separation to dissolve, right? If there's only one source, and that is the one source is the creator of all life, and everything is the offspring of that life, I cannot be separate from it. So I say, I am that. I claim I am one. I am that power expressing. I am willing to be faith expressing in this moment. Divine faith. So the example would be, with assurance, I decree oneness with the source of all that is. With spiritual authority, I declare I am the presence of divine faith. And the negation would be, unworthiness and fear are powerless over the truth of my divine identity. How many of you have the story of I'm not worthy? It's not going to happen to me, right? So when that pops in, now do you need to have a negation at every stage of the prayer flow? Absolutely not. I'm just giving you examples of what it is. So the integrating, so now before, like when Donna shared joy, that at-one-ment, the awakening, at-one-ment, right? It was like, you're one with the plan, right? That is, and you begin to have that, I am that. We're just naming it. I'm readying myself to integrate. You know, how many of you watch Dancing with the Stars? Okay, another guilty pleasure of mine. So when they do like the foxtrot and they do the cha-cha, the tango, right? There's the lead. There's the leader, right? The one who does the lead. Now it's one dance and they dance as one, but there's the one, we allow the lead and it's a flow and it's beauty. And so here, my humanity says, okay, I have all this going like this, but I'm going to allow the I am to lead and let me dance with you. So it's not about obliterating, getting rid of my humanity. It's like, who is going to be the lead in this flow of life, right? Does that make sense? Okay. And then we move into the fourth step, which is I realize, I can, I have, I know. So this is where demonstration comes in. This is where prayer, this affirmative prayer is different in many aspects, but is different than supplicating and asking for things. It calls us into action. It calls us into demonstration, right? So how do I embody faith? I embody faith by saying, I know I'm whole and complete. I know divine wisdom has has guided me, that, like it's aliving me to be a minister, to speak, talk about spiritual lessons. And yes, I have this fear, but I'm going to embody it by showing up every Sunday anyway. And focusing on the people and not my fear. So here in this example of the gentleman losing their job, it would be, from the consciousness of the I am, I place my faith in the knowing that I am a unique expression of the one source, imbued with many gifts to share with the world. There is no one who can share my divine abilities like I can. That is true from every one of you. We all have the innate ability of creation, of power, of life, and how we express it is unique to each one of us. Isn't that amazing? Right? Think if there was just fern fronds and no other things, no other plants in nature. With conviction, I know I can express my gifts of storytelling, imagination. Okay, let me backtrack. There is no one who can share my divine abilities like I can. Now here's the demonstration they're saying they're going to do. With conviction, belief, I know I can express my gifts of storytelling, imagination, and breathtaking imagery in creative and inspiring ways that prosper me in countless ways. Pretty powerful, isn't it? And I'm not just saying because I wrote it. I mean, like, it energizes, right? It's like, it's a call to action. It's a call for me to demonstrate something. Rather than sitting there picking my belly button and going over my fear. Yes, there's a time and place to have your fear, but it's a call to action. And so here a negation would be, I refuse to believe I have no value. I refuse to believe that my age defines me. I refuse to believe that what you say in the job market defines me. I remember when I was, before this was even a possibility, I was in school, in graduate school for counseling. And I remember someone saying to me, "You're going to be a counselor? There's so many of them." And I'm like, wow, that's inspiring. Now, I could have left that office with, I did have a little monkey mind, like, oh my God, if I find a job, maybe I made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, no, thank you. Contracted for a fron. No, what's the truth? I wouldn't be divinely inspired from within to move into this creative expression if it wasn't mine to do. It's not how it works. Okay, so negation, I said that already. So now we move into the last stage, which is I appreciate. And that is a shift in my consciousness. Now, we are appreciating the shift in consciousness, we're appreciating the new understanding, and we're appreciating that we can be it, that we're it. This is not appreciating, thank you God out there for giving me X, Y, Z. This is not being appreciative for the, that perfect job with the $5 million that I'm going to get like maybe next Tuesday. It's appreciation for the gift of it, of shifting my consciousness and my awareness. I am filled with deep appreciation for the realization that I have sacred worth. Like when you are like having that ha-ha moment, wow, and you get that in your heart, has that ever happened where you shift to this feeling of unworthiness and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, you felt like, no, I have worth, and you got it at your core. With a joy-filled and peaceful heart, I know I am here to be a creative, glorious, and prosperous light of this world. Power statements, aren't they? And a beautiful thing to embody. Now, the other day, it was a rain, like one of the days we had that god-awful rain, and, I had an appointment, it was my Monday, and, I love my mom, so please take this with a grain of salt, but, she starts her day with a daily bowel report and, the litany of, X, Y, or Z. And I can now have compassion instead of saying, oh, here we go again. Or I was still having some discomfort over here. It was pouring down rain. And I left acupuncturist and I'm in Sam's Club. Nobody in Sam's Club, I don't know, like you would have thought I was in Disney World or something. The joy I was feeling, the lightness, the love, like all the same, a lot of the external conditions were still present. But what shifted for me? What was I embodying? I wasn't embodying that it was a rainy day. I wasn't embodying the daily bowel report. No, I was embodying and I was to have a phone call with my spiritual director. And so now I'm like, I'm really in a good mood. Like, okay, I got to dig deep because we got to work on something. And so I'm like, okay. And then I started to share something. And he's like, well, there's that self-doubt. He says, what are you noticing? I said, I'm noticing it's just BS. You know what I really want to talk about? I want to talk about how joy-filled I feel today. And then we had a whole session just about glory. And I'm like, oh my God, the spiritual journey doesn't have to be all heavy. Like, let's take some moments of this, right? To be in that place where you recognize, I appreciate. I don't need to have my life to be X, Y, and Z to feel glory, beauty, like it feels good to be alive today, right? Have you had those moments? Profound to me, profound. Okay, and usually here you're at the shift stage. You don't really probably need a negation, but it may, you could use one. No one or no thing can distinguish my light. It's just another one. And so here we put it all together. With each inhalation and exhalation, I relax my body. As my breath grows deep and slow, I open my mind and heart to the waking of spiritual truth. I affirm that my age is powerless over my worth and my good. I am willing to let go of the belief that God is a deity who has willed me to lose my job. I recognize that God, the one power and presence, is the creative source and cause of all life. I know that from the one source emanates the perfect principle of faith. God is absolute faith. Unworthiness and fear are powerless over the truth of my divine identity. With assurance, I decree my oneness with the source of all that is. With spiritual authority, I declare I am the presence of divine faith. I refuse to believe I have no value. From the consciousness of the I am, I place my faith. We can have faith in everything, but where is it placed? I'm placing it in the knowing that I am a unique expression of the one source, imbued with many gifts to share with the world. There is no one who can share my divine abilities like I can. With conviction, I know I can express my gifts of storytelling, imagination, and breathtaking imagery in creative and inspiring ways that prosper me in countless ways. I am filled with deep appreciation for the realization that I have sacred value. With a joy-filled and peaceful heart, I know I am here to be a creative, glorious, and prosperous light of this world, and so it is. Now, you may not use all those words. This is just one example I created from a real life example. There are so many in the book, but can you feel the energy and the power of that? Now, I know we can get lost in all that I'm telling you, because this is a lot, but as you feel that, right, it's not asking God to deliver you a gift out there and then you just a spectator waiting to see what happens. Do you see the difference? And so I invite you, like everything, to embody your power of mastery, your power of power and zeal and being devoted to practice affirmative prayer. I mean, you can practice whatever prayer form you want. But I ask you to be open. I've tried so many and I open. I do, meta kindness. I do all forms of prayer. But the one thing I know is I'm willing to be open. And this was really confusing to me. But when I really got it, wow, it's powerful in my life. It is really powerful. So again, take what you like with everything and leave the rest. The only thing you have to lose is empowerment. That's all. Anyway. So with that said, let us move into a state of meditation. Any thoughts or questions? Whatever it may be, like, oh my God, this was too much. One thing that you found to be useful, anything? Nancy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, it's feeling like a lot overwhelming, but to say just the process of it, working for me, and the old stuff does come back in that moment. But I've experienced it, so, and sometimes my thought is, oh yeah, that's where I go with sometimes, but it is the practice of it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so we will have our humanity with us as long as we're on this earthly plane, right? Sometimes we think when we're on a spiritual journey that what? We're going to graduate and then tomorrow, because we've studied this book, or, there was one lesson at Unity, or there's people who come in here who've been in Unity for like 30 years. Yeah, you're not telling me anything new. From what state of consciousness is that? Yeah, right? Ego, right? Right? I don't have all the answers. Every day I'm willing. This stretched me. This book stretched me because I was used to the old way. So if it's stretching me, it's got to stretch you, and it can be overwhelming. So, in any event, yes, this is meant to be a whole book study. Sometimes my enthusiasm, so it is my hope that you gleaned at least one thing from here, and to know, like, what was my my desire was not to overwhelm. So anyway, Donna.
For me, this is an example of lifelong learning.
Oh,
And just
absolutely.
the nuances come forth. Okay, I'll start again. So for me, this is an example of lifelong learning, and to use the very tired analogy of the onion, but it's just as time goes on, and you get one nuance of it, and then you get something more, and then you go deeper over time. And maybe this is the gift that never really stops giving, because you're always going to find a little bit of a different slant or a little bit of a different depth.
Yes, absolutely. Well said, right? It is our desire to be open, to evolve, right? To try new things. There's many spiritual paths, and for me, when there's an openness, then I am claiming oneness, because I don't say one thing is it, right? It's all can be, right? Part of our journey. Deborah.
Reverend Linda suggested that we do a 15-minute meditation incorporating this style of prayer about 2 weeks ago when she spoke to us. And so I took that on, and I've been doing that the past 2 weeks, and then I encouraged 2 other members of our community, Kirsten and Linda, and we've been doing it all together over the past 2 weeks, and talking every morning, at least texting every morning that we have completed or not, and what our experience of this prayer has been. Awesome.
Awesome. That is awesome. And that is the beauty of knowing, like number one, you can only get so much in a Sunday series, and it's the enticement to go further and deeper. It's never about to teach something fully or to understand something fully. It's the enticement. I want to know more. So that is spiritual, taking on spiritual mastery, authority, and I'm devoted to this practice. That's beautiful. Do you notice any shifting or in conscious? Tremendously. Awesome.
Acceptance.
Beautiful. Paula.
I appreciated everything and the effort you put into to get the word out to us. And what was prevalent in my mind when you went to oneness. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are one, but we are individuated.
Yes.
And it's okay.
That's our humanity.
Yeah, I can sit here and say like, oh, I don't get this or I don't get that, but it's okay.
Yes.
We're all at different stages in our
absolutely
journey, whatever you want to call it. So it's okay.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate my individuation.
Yes. Embracing your sacred humanity and your uniqueness and your unique choices. And we can appreciate that and also be open. They can coexist, right? How many times we think, this is my view, this is my will, and then we think like, oh, I can't be open at the same time. So yes. Anybody else? Yes, one more. Anything on the chat?
Coming from CSL and now coming back to Unity where I started originally, CSL always resonated with me really well, affirmative prayer, and it's really exciting to me to see that Unity has really turned more towards the way I'm comfortable, but it's also exciting to learn and to read what's in these books and adding things to my affirmative prayers and deleting things that I used to do. And it's really great because I do this every night when I get into bed, even though sometimes people disturb me. And it feels much better. I feel that I deal with life and my challenges much better adding some of this theory into what I already had.
Yeah, it's just, again, I always say take what you like and leave the rest, but it's like being open, It's, yeah. And the thing about this is, the book, and I'll end here, is that this is really not changing anything that Charles and Myrtle Fillmore taught. Right. Okay? It's putting in language that is clear, that is not from the 1800s, that use pronouns and God as a being. But if you look at, through their works, right? And so, Unity has had people come from all different faith traditions, and a big population from the Catholic faith, who's not right or wrong, embraced all faith traditions. And so sometimes what happens is, I'm going to take this model, and because my belief system is this, and so I Catholicize this, and now God is out there, right? And even though, I know that the Fillmore said it wasn't a deity, it wasn't it, but that's what happened. And so as they traveled around the movement, they were seeing some of the language, and not that they were being language police or whatever, but their love of the beauty, of the power of its uniqueness. And so this is where the book came forth. So thank you for sharing that. And with that, yes. Sure. Absolutely.
From Teresa Albert, thank you, Angela. I think that when you have ears to hear. Just in the chat, thank you, Angela, from Therese Alberg. I think that when you have ears to hear, and this is much to hear and do, and from Jean, I'm grateful to be exposed to a new spiritual way of affirmative prayer. Thank you for putting this series together.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm open for, I'm just being open in this moment, so I'll leave it there. So in any event, so let's take this moment as we breathe with conscious awareness, because we know we are always breathing. But in this moment, let us be aware and awakened to the breath that flows in and through us as us. And with each inhalation and exhalation, let us marvel on the mystery of the divine, of divine life itself, and the magnitude and the majestic beauty and power of all the many expressions of life. Allowing our hearts, our minds to open like the unfurling of a firm frond. Noticing any thoughts or that are resistant within your body. Within your mind. Breathing in. Nevertheless, I am willing to focus on the breath, the power of life. God is the one power and presence of all life. And I am the presence of that life. I am an individualized expression of that life and light. How glorious that is. How glorious that is. To embrace the sacredness of my humanity in all of its fullness, to be able to feel, to think, to be in relationship, to enjoy the many shades and experiences of nature. Oh, I am a glorious expression of divine life. And as that glorious expression of divine light and life, I get to choose what I will animate, what I will create. And first I glean that divine idea will create beauty and love this day. I am divine life, expressing and creating love and kindness and beauty wherever I go. Oh, let my words be energized with kindness, with beauty and of love. Let me stop and listen when someone speaks. Let me behold the unique expression of light and life that they are. And oh no, I refuse to allow their pain that may spill over to stop me from knowing the truth of the light and life that is before me. For I am that I am that I am in the stillness. I am the light of life, creating beauty, animating love, animating kindness. And as I breathe in and breathe out, I am grateful. I am filled with deep appreciation, knowing I get to color my day today, moment by moment. And so it is. Amen. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Opening your eyes when you are ready and noticing the beauty that is before you, that is within you, and the beauty of life itself. And so it is. Namaste.